Hi guys, welcome back to Irish Footy Vlogs. Welcome back to another prediction show. All these games are on Thursday, the 13th of June. Myself and JP are level on 61 points each. It's turning into a bit of an epic battle, JP, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. In 86 minutes on Friday night, I was sitting on 6 points until Padraig Hammond and Pat Hogan decided they score another goal for their team.
Yeah, I fixed those games. I won't tell you how I done it, but I fixed those games. But I can't get in front. But I'm happy enough, if I'm honest. And I think the last 3 weeks we've been level on different scores, which is a bit mad as well. But yeah, going into Thursday's games before the break, it's going to be interesting. And first up, we've got Bohemians and Derry. The interesting one about this is obviously we spoke about in the Premier Division show how Derry have 3 clean sheets in a row, 7 from 9. Fairly full fit or fully fit squad, pretty much. Even Colin Whelan's on the way back. He played
Yeah,
another 20
scored,
game and scored, didn't he, against Finn
scored
Harps?
and scored 40, played 40 minutes,
Not
scored
bad.
an assist. And the reason it was 40 minutes was it was planned. So it wasn't that they had to take him off because
Mm.
he was injured or anything. It was planned that he was only going to get
They're going
40
to have to
minutes.
really be very careful with him, aren't they? Very careful. So it's hard to know when he'll be back.
I was
Back.
actually chat they was actually chatting they call him a couple of weeks ago prior to a game and he was saying that all being well, he'll hopefully be back maybe just before Europe. So we'll
Mm.
we'll see. We'll see how. Obviously, it all depends on um these under 20 games go. So look, it looks like it went well yesterday. I'm
Mm.
sure Rory and Derry will be looking to get another couple of games under his belt before they risk him. And I think one thing that they've got this year compared to last year is they've got Pat Hoban, where they don't. Last year, I think they were a wee bit maybe rushing them back a wee bit because they needed somebody and they score goals. Where they've got Pat Hoban who's scoring goals. Like he's on 11, and Will Paxton's on 6 as well. So there's goals being shared about the team this year. So he might not be as under as much pressure to get back in this year and what maybe he was last year. But look, let's hope it all goes well for him.
Yeah, absolutely. I was thinking the same thing, what you just said there as well. As for Bohemians, two things could happen here with them. They could be fresher and it might suit them coming into the game, or they could be cold. It's always very difficult to tell when you haven't played for a couple of weeks, but you're coming up against a team that have a bit of a rhythm going at the moment in Derry City. I'll go with this one first, or why not? And you can go with the next one first. Um, I think there's more of a chance the balls might be a bit cold actually coming into this one, particularly the opposition they're playing. Obviously, one of the best teams in the league at the moment on form, 100% one of the best teams in the league, if not the best team in the league. So I think Derry are going to go here and win. And I know they've had difficulties at Daleyman Park, etc. But I'm actually going to go for another clean sheet. I'm going to go for Derry City to win 2-0 here.
Yeah, well, I think Derry have a lot of no, I wouldn't say making up to do from their last trip to Daily Mount. It was just a poor performance, but it's one that they'll probably want to put right, especially
Mm.
going into this game. They battled their 1-0 win a few weeks ago at the Brandywell against Bohemians. And I think this is a game. We spoke about it in the touched on it in the Premier Division game. It'll be interesting to see. And I was thinking the same thing that Bulls were
Mm.
going to come into this game a wee bit cold.
Mm.
So it'll be interesting to see if Derry try and take the game to them early on and see how cold they are. Like I know they've had a couple of boys away on international duty, etc., etc. And it'll be interesting to see if their sharpness is gone. Like we know Bows are a kind of team where they beat Shelbourne, won 3 games in 7 days, and then go on a run where they can't buy a win and stuff like that. So it won't. I think Derry will win this game. And I'm gonna. I had 2-0 in my head as well just before you said it, so I'm going to say 2-0. I think Derry defending really well at the minute. They're not coughing up a lot of chances. And I think they've got the best goalkeeper in the league behind them anyway as well. So, um, yeah, I'm going to go 2-0 there.
Very interesting one at Oriel Park. Dundalk, 7 clean sheets in a row at Oriel Park, up against Sligo. They'll see this as an opportunity, not only obviously to get the 3 points, but to maybe claw Sligo back slightly as well. A 7 point gap is obviously not as bad as a 10 point gap. And with the injury Sligo have, you feel like if they go on a bad run, they could be clawed back. Sligo will look at this, and I think if you offered Sligo a point now, they'd grab it and take it and run, to be honest, and say, 10 points ahead of Dundalk now, maybe similar over Drogheda as well. So that might come into it as well. Also, Dundalk will remember that horrendous defeat earlier on in the season against Sligo, where they lost 5-0, which was just a ridiculous performance. Good performance of Sligo, but from Dundalk's point of view, very, very poor. Sligo will come up against a more organised Dundalk team now. How are you seeing this one?
Aye, that result was earlier in the season was one where we were looking at our pre-season predictions and thinking, well, have we seriously got Sligo wrong this season? And then like they picked up 4 points from away games at Derry and Shelbourne. And then you look at Waterford, who their only defeats in the last 9 is against Derry and Shelbourne. So it's
This
kind of
is
like
Sligo's fourth away game in the bounce, isn't it? Somehow.
it's
Is it?
quite, yeah,
For some
no,
reason. I don't know how
that's
that's happened, but it is.
um yeah, because they lost the Bows, then they've got Derry, Shelbourne. No, they had Drogheda at home.
They dropped in between, did they?
Yeah, they Drogheda in between at home.
Right,
So
okay. Yeah.
um it's 4 away games in 5, if you want to put it like that. So yeah,
Yeah, still a lot, yeah.
that them 7 points that they picked up, Derry, Shelbourne, Drogheda, is what's keeping them away from Drogheda and Dundalk at the minute. And you say Dundalk will be seeing this as an opportunity to they really Sligo on a wee bit. They'll not probably not be focusing on the likes of St. Pat's or Bulls, because they probably realise that them squads are probably good enough to maybe pull away, but they're probably looking at Sligo as a chance as a team they get them into the mix. I think it's been a while since we've had 3 teams down there fighting. They stay up, where I think a couple of years ago we had Van Hart, cut adrift, New City were shaking, and then way far away was everybody else. And I think Cork was last year.
And they still had a big gap over UCD, Cork last
Had a
year.
big gap with New City, and there was, I don't think the gap then the eighth place team. I don't think it
I think
was.
there was a 7 point gap in the end between Cork and
Seven,
Sligo.
but
Yeah.
never really got the feeling that Cork were going to reel the our team in.
No.
Where I think if Dundalk or Drogheda start to maybe put a couple of wins together, you can maybe see come the end of the season that there's a 3-way battle down there, and Dundalk will see this as a great opportunity to start. And I think a great one away at St. Pat's, fantastic one, good draw against Derry. They so easily could have came away with all 3 points in that game too if they had a better finishing. They'll probably be disappointed that they didn't win it or get something out of the Shelbourne game. But they'll not be
Disheartened.
disheartened by it either, because I thought there was probably a good performance in there as well. But I think they're going to win this game. Say 7 games without conceding at Oriel Park, which is astonishing
For
for
the
a team
team
that's
that's bottom, remember.
second, bottom or second. Yeah,
You
they're
know what I
bottom.
mean? Like, it's not as if they're top or
That's
second or third.
astonishing. That's astonishing.
Yeah, when you think about it, it's crazy.
They're still bottom of the table for home form this season, so they are, which is incredible. So
Shows how bad their home form was before that, though.
they've played 9 matches at home this season, and their last 7 at home they haven't conceded. So that means they probably haven't conceded a goal to Orioles since the 5-0 defeat, wouldn't it?
Possibly, yeah.
I think so. So it's an interesting one, that.
Very interesting.
So I could see Dundalk coming away with this, and look, they have to concede sometime, don't they?
Yeah.
Whether it's against Sligo. I'm going to say 2-0 Dundalk.
There'll be Sligo fans watching this and thinking to themselves, hang on a minute, lads, this is a great opportunity for us as well. Because if we beat Dundalk, we got 13 points ahead of them, and surely it's going to take a lot for us to be down there. So, there's that argument as well. And they do have threats, the likes of Fabrice Hartman, as we've seen before in particular. But they are struggling with so many players that have been injured, etc., etc. They're really struggling in that sense. And defensively, they've been struggling too. It's an opportunity for Dundalk. I don't know if Gullen will play. If he's a hamstring injury, it's hard to know how long that is with a hamstring. You never know. I'd play Kenny ahead of Elliott, if I'm honest with you, if I was them. But I think they'll concede, but I think they'll win. And they won't care about that, Dundalk. Dundalk by 2-1 for me. Eamon DC Park, Galway United take on Drogheda United. Hmm?
I've had a look. The last time Dundalk conceded at Oriel was a 5-0 defeat.
That's
They
mad.
Sligo. They lost 2-0 to Galway.
Yeah, that's
They
mad
lost
though, isn't it?
they lost 2-0 to Galway in their first home game, and
Jeez.
then they lost 5-0 in their second. They haven't conceded since at
Haven't
Oriel
seen
Park.
it since. Mental. It's crazy. It actually is. It's mind-boggling. Galway not in Drogheda United finished 0-0 at Eamon DC the last time they met at Eamon DC, but Drogheda will be very familiar with that recent defeat at Weavers Park, where they conceded two late goals to lose the game. Galway probably be happy enough getting back to Eamon DC, having a couple of defeats there at Derry and an unfortunate defeat, I have to say, at Richmond against Pats, but they'll be looking to get back to winning ways. As I said, Drogheda will be happier with their platform, if you like, against Pats. 0-0 earlier on the season. I don't know. I think this could be tight again. Oh, I always have to have a draw, don't I, somewhere? I haven't had a draw so far. Is this going to be my first draw? Matthew O'Brien has come into the team for Drogheda and has given them legs in midfield. It'd be interesting to see if Deegan comes back into the side. I'm not sure he will. More solid defensively against Pats, although Pats had opportunities. Galway, as we know, um, they'd probably be disappointed with the performance at the Brandywell as well. And usually that spawns a reaction, doesn't it, when they perform poorly, as we know. 1-1,
I
just like that, 1-1.
again, Galway are a hard team to call. Like they disappointed me on Friday night. That even though I knew what they expected, what they were going to do, they just didn't create anything at the other end. Now they don't usually, but
Mm.
sometimes you would maybe see someone off a set piece. Brian Maher didn't have to make a save the other night, so he didn't. So that would disappoint John Caulfield. I think would although he'd understand they didn't play well, he acknowledged that. He
Mm.
even said Derry were champions elect, so he wasn't disappointed in the result. But I'm sure if you ask him, he would probably be a wee bit disappointed that they didn't utilize their set pieces enough, especially their long throws, which they had a few of them quite close to Derry box. But you have to commend Derry; they absolutely stood up to that task. As I said in the Premier Division show, they defended it really well. Do Drogheda have the same quality to be able to see that out? I don't think so. Will Galway create something? I think they will. I think Galway's going to nick that 1-0.
I had a feeling you were edging that way, all right. Um,
That's the Rovers.
St. Patrick's Athletic and Shamrock Rovers at Richmond Park, and this is a difficult one in terms of. I mentioned the Premier Division show how Pats had a lot of injuries. I don't know who's going to be available defensively for this game at this minute in time. Right, there's a possibility that
Both teams are rabid.
yeah, there's a possibility that Breslin still won't be back. That's a serious issue. As Kenny keeps mentioning, he's the only left back at the club, which is right. Um, I'm thinking about it. I'm trying to think. Turner and Gravosti are the two that probably are definitely available as I speak, and that's it. Definitely available. And Gravosti has only played what 60 minutes overall since he's back from injury. So they're in a very delicate situation. I think going into this game, the three right backs of the club they're always injured. Freeman, Scheuberg, and McLaughlin. Scheuberg is easily the best of the three, by the way, by far. But serious hamstring issues there. Redmond went off, by the way, too. And Keeley went off as well. How bad those injuries are, I'm not sure. So you'd hazard a guess and say one of them be available, and even if they are, they're fairly hamstrung there. And they beat Shamrock Rovers 2-1 earlier on in the season, at Richmond Park, which they were a bit lucky to win it, but you have to give them credit for winning the game. Rovers have suffered with injuries, as we said before. But maybe they can deal with it better than Pats, maybe, because Pats haven't had too many injury problems, and now all of a sudden there's a clump of them in one particular area of the pitch. And look, Pats aren't playing well overall, and if they were to get a result out of the game, you'd have to say they need a bit of luck as well, because I don't think they're constructing what you would call a deserved victory over a team like Shamrock Rovers. Rovers, from week to week, you never know who's in and out, but they still have quality there. Like, O'Neill will still be out. I think Hounahan might be out. Cleary, Burns will still be out, but they still have the likes of Johnny Kenny who's playing well, and he played for the under-20s the other day. Aaron Green scored goals. Graham Burke will be there. Jack Byrne, might be a little bit fitter again. Who knows? Not sure about Pico with the international stuff and that, but who's first on this one?
Me.
You, yeah. What do you think? I've laid the
Aye,
platform, but what do you think?
it just depends who's available, isn't it, for both teams? Like,
I
I know,
can't. Yeah.
I know a couple of weeks ago I went for Rovers to draw away at Drogheda because I quite didn't know who Shamrock
Mm.
Rovers had available, and they ended up they won the game comfortably enough.
Mm.
Um, I think if the injury list at St. Pat's as bad as what you're saying it is, especially in defence, that doesn't bode well because I think the one area that Shamrock Rovers don't have injuries, I think, is in attack.
Pretty
They've
much. Gaffney might be out, but I mean, look, Kenny and Green and
got
Burke,
Aaron Quinn and Burke
Ferrugia going forward.
and there's Dara Burns is there.
I think
Is he
he'll be
in?
on. I don't think he'll be available.
Well, he's out injured as well.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
they've still got a good bit about them and attack that they could maybe,
And McAneff has come into the team in recent weeks. I
you
know it'll take him time to
he's
build
back
himself
in.
up.
So I think Shamrock Rovers will win it based on that. And as they like, I'm just going to touch on the point that Kenny, you were saying there, Kenny saying about Preston being the only left back at the club. How John Daly could let that happen, I don't know.
Mm.
Uh,
I wouldn't even necessarily blame Daly over this necessarily on the club as a whole. How can you have three right backs, right, and one left back? And by the way, the three right backs are complete crocs. And I'm pretty sure Kenny's gone in there and gone, "What the hell is this?"
what have they
And
given you, Dave?
I'm surprised Breslin hasn't got injured before that, to be honest. He played 50 odd games, whatever it is, 60, I can't remember, up and down in the full, in a wing back slot or a full back slot. I mean, that's a lot of demand. There's a lot of demands in that, isn't there, JP?
Oh,
You need
like
competition as well. You need competition in those
you
areas of
need
the pitch.
competition to keep your standards high,
Yeah.
so you do. And I think when Preston, I'm not saying he's the kind of player that would. I'm going to go out and have a stinker because I'm back on again next week. I think
No,
your
but
own pride,
if you do have a bad game, you are in the next week. That's the point, isn't it? Regardless, or
your
games.
I think your own pride and your own performance would make you want to play well anyway. So look, I don't know how to call it. I don't know how to call it, but I think based on what we think Pats and Rovers have available, I think Rovers will have more about them than um some Pats, especially in the attacking areas. So
100%.
I'm gonna go 2-0 Shamrock Rovers.
I have the same margin, but I'm going to go different. Pats will get one, but I think Rovers will open them up. 3-1 Shamrock Rovers for me, to be honest with you. I think this is a really intriguing game and arguably the most intriguing game. Actually, do you know what? Honestly, if I was a complete neutral and someone said to me, which game do you want to watch? I think I'd choose Waterford and Shelbourne. I think it's very intriguing at the RSC. I mean, we've talked about Waterford in the Premier Division show. They've had tight games at Shells as well this season, 1-all draw and a 1-0 defeat. Maybe it's their turn to win, but they're on
Mm.
form. They're playing very, very well. They won't fear Shelbourne coming to the RSC. A big test for Shelbourne, actually. If Shelbourne were to go here and beat them, a team on form, away from home with the position they're in, it'd be a massive, massive win. Very, very interesting game. I'm first for this, haven't I? I think Shells will look. Duff will understand the threat the Waterford have in attack. There's one thing about understanding. There's another thing about stopping it. So they'll have to be. It's not with Amond, for example. Obviously, supply. You try and stop supply from the likes of Parsons and Power, who's been playing right back but getting forward well, and Pattison is in the team even with Asamoah out. He's been doing well, but they'll be looking at zones and trying to look carefully at the type of zones that Amond gets into and try and not man mark him, but get into good areas defensively, like Barrett and Malloy is going to be critical, and they're going to have to be switched on to say the least for 90 plus minutes in this game with him about. Shelbourne themselves are well capable of threatening. And the one weakness Waterford probably have is defensively. I don't think defensively they're that strong as a team, really. That kind of way they've got centre back. I think they're okay. They're not terrible. It's not their best area of the pitch. So Shelbourne will look to exploit that with the likes of, Jarvis counter attack. Burt might start ahead of Smith this time. I don't know. Caffrey's done well recently, breaking from midfield. I actually think there's going to be goals in this game. I know we think Shelbourne 1-0 and all that kind of thing, but I'm going to go for, they haven't drawn too many, but I'm going to go for 2-2 draw. I think it might be a good game, this one.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna. I think it's again an intriguing game. And it's basically you're looking at the form guide and you're looking at Waterford and they're at home and you're thinking they're going to win this, and then you're looking at Shelbourne, they're top of the league, they're grinding out results. They went down to the RSC first game of the season. Duff wasn't happy with what he seen in the first half, and I think he made four substitutions at halftime or on the hour mark or something like that, and they ended up getting a draw out of it. And
Interesting if Sean Boyd is available for this one, by the way.
yeah, I had a laugh at Duff the other day when he turned around. He says people questioning Sean Boyd not being in. He says if Sean Boyd's not in, there's a reason why he's not in.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, I did think that
Duff,
was weird. Not from Duff. I thought it was weird from some fans because if he's not in, he wasn't even on the bench. I don't think. Wasn't he not on the bench? I don't think he was on
I
the bench.
don't think
I need to
so.
check
No,
that back. But even so, it's quite obvious there's an issue there. Like, you know what I mean? That there's a knock or something. So yeah,
he wasn't on the bench either.
there you go. So clearly, like, you know what I mean? There was obviously an issue there. So he's right there. I have to say now, to be fair to him. Some people they kind of say, "Why is this fella not in the team?" Well, clearly, there's a good chance he's injured. You know.
If he's not on the bench, and he's been scoring a few important goals for them
Mm.
in the last few weeks. The one away at Derry kept them top of the table. The winner at against Waterford, and I think he scored another winner as well, didn't he, in another game?
And to be fair, John
So
Martin has done the same. He scored three winners, I think, in 1-0 this season as well. And he's
yeah,
a
it
Waterford
has
man as
that.
well, by the way, John Martin. So,
Same against
interesting,
Scott.
just looking at this very quickly before you kind of give your prediction, that it's mental when you look at it. A win for Waterford will put them 6 points behind Shells with a game in hand.
That's mad.
So, hypothetically, they would be in the race with a win.
Yeah, you would think that depending on the result in the Derry game.
Mm.
So yeah. Look, I think if they're 6 points behind Shelbourne with a game in hand, they'll probably not be
Nice
in.
carrot, though,
It
for
would be
them.
a nice car. You wouldn't see them as being in the race, but
Mm.
technically they kind of are. Shamrock Rovers, I think, still have two games in hand on Derry. Um,
Mm. They do.
yeah, and they've the same games played as Waterford, so in the same amount of points. Um, as I touched on the Premier Division show, in the last 9 games, Waterford have 6 wins, 3 defeats, 2 to Derry, 1 to Shelbourne. So it'd be interesting to see if out of their net, if Shelbourne do go there and win, it'll be say 4 defeats and the four of them coming against the top two. But I think Waterford are going to get a result, and this is not me with my Derry City head on. It's just I think Waterford at home are really strong. Shelbourne are really strong as well. I just think they're in really good form, Waterford. As I said, the 3 times I've seen them against Derry, they've disappointed me. But I think in the 2 games they've played against Shelbourne, they've played really well, and Shelbourne have had to grind out the 4 points they've got. And they're a team playing with a lot of confidence. If Shelbourne can stop the supply and the jamming, they'll probably get something out of the game. They'll probably go and win the game. But
Mm.
Waterford are playing with a lot of confidence. Um, but I don't think they're going to romp home on the game. I think it'll be. I'm going to say 2-1 Waterford.
Very, very interesting. We leave it there, JP. Thanks for coming on. Excellent stuff as usual. Lads, let us know at home. Give us your predictions. Some really juicy games this week. Subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.